Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Christina Christophorou. I'm head of the Social Responsibility and Business Development Unit of the National Betting Authority. And today I will be speaking about a framework for a national self-exclusion scheme that's applicable to the sports betting sector. So my presentation today will start by explaining what self-exclusion is and what are the current legislation requirements in Cyprus. Then I'll briefly touch upon the benefits and the current limitations of a self-exclusion scheme, and then I'll go on to mention the basic objectives of a national self-exclusion scheme and some of the principles that will guide the implementation process. I'll finally share what will the next steps of this project be. So, self-exclusion, as mentioned also in the literature, is a harm minimization tool that enables players to exclude themselves from gambling. It is a self-protection measure that allows players to control their gambling activities. People who recognize that they may have a problem with their gambling can use this tool to help themselves better manage their gambling behavior. So, at the moment, what is required according to the betting law applies to the Directive 29 of the National Betting Authority. The law applies to operators that hold a license for online betting services, and these operators are required to provide registered players with the right to determine their time and money limits, but also to self-exclude themselves from gambling either for a specified period of time or indefinitely. Furthermore, the law provides that any modification resulting to increased player protection must be applied immediately after the operator has received the request from the player, and also any modification that allows for reduced player protection can only be carried out after 7 days of the notification to the online bookmaker. Self-exclusion is terminated automatically with the conclusion of the selected opt-out period, and any request for increase of the opt-out period shall have an immediate effect. Moving on, I'll share some of the main benefits of a national self-exclusion scheme. First, it encourages informed and voluntary choices. Players have more control of their gambling behavior. There is no third-party involvement in the process of registration. You can register one, and then it applies to all online operators. It allows for customization. A player basically can exclude themselves for a period of their choice according to their gambling behavior. It can possibly detect early a future problem gambler. And also it gives the opportunity to operators to ban any promotional material and bonuses to players that have that have self-excluded themselves. Some of the current limitations, some inherent limitations of self-exclusion schemes is that a player's choice to self-exclude, it's voluntary, so they have to register themselves, they have to make the decision, and this leads to low utilization rates and maybe breach of the commitment from the player's side. Furthermore, in the betting law, there is no provision for player identification for the land-based betting activities because it is performed in an anonymous environment. So the players cannot ban themselves from entering a betting premise due to the anonymity issue. And last, another limitation is that it's, at the moment, it's an operator-by-operator basis. So if an individual wishes to self-exclude entirely from gambling, they need to do so separately with each operator they gamble And this is not very effective since if a player regrets their choice to self-exclude, they can go on to the next operator and gamble again. So the protection of players, it's actually at the heart of the National Betting Authority's agenda. And this project, it further underlines our commitment to ensure that players have the necessary tools to engage in gaming services responsibly. Self-exclusion scheme is a tool in a wide range of responsible gambling and prevention measures, and it leads to enhanced players' protection. The goal is to create a unified self-exclusion platform across online operators, and it will have a centralized database, reducing long-term costs in the process. Another goal is for the scheme to be effectively implemented by the operators and be promoted in a correct manner in order to reach all players that engage in online gambling activities. So for the first phase will apply to online operators, and it will be done either through the operator's website through a link or a centralized platform website. This will depend from the software that will be developed. There will be a centralized platform, and this will allow for easy registration, simplicity. It's going to be a convenience for the player, and it will reduce friction in the process. The data will be owned by the National Betting Authority, and the operators will have access to the data, and they will synchronize in real time with the data, and they can immediately confirm if the players have self-excluded themselves or not. And the operators will need to integrate their systems with the centralized database, and we will consult with the Commissioner for Personal Data Protection in order to ensure data privacy for the whole process. So what will the next steps be? What will the next step bring? We will, of course, consult with all relevant stakeholders. The publication of white paper on a national self-exclusion platform will be made public available soon. So further, we will also bring on a practical guide for the technical specifications of this project. And we will also seek input from academia and researchers. And next, the NBA will need the input and suggestions from the land-based operators on how we can achieve a full implementation of both online and offline land-based integration. And lastly, the self-exclusion platform will have the potential to expand to other gambling sectors beyond sports betting. So with that, I conclude the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.